Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Talladega Superspeedway. We're going to go ahead and get started with our pre-race driver media availabilities for the Fred's 250 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Chase Cutoff Race. Joining us this morning, we have the driver of the number 17 Red Horse Racing Toyota, Timothy Peters. Tim, you're the two-time defending race winner here. Won last year's race from the pole position. Any secrets to success at Talladega Superspeedway you want to share with the guy to your right and left?
I don't know if there are any secrets other than the fact that we have a really good team, and I think all of us will agree that the shop is where you win all your races, but more importantly on super speedways, it's how hard the guys have worked to massage on not only my truck but everybody's team in the garage area. So we've built a great notebook over the last several years, and when you come to these enough, you kind of know the do's and don'ts. So hopefully I can keep learning every time we get out on racetrack.
We're also joined by the driver of the number 19 DrawTite Ford, Daniel Hemric. Daniel, you're coming off a runner-up finish at Las Vegas. You've had 9 top 5 finishes this season. What's it going to take to get that first win at this critical moment in the chase?
Yeah, obviously coming here, it's its own battle in itself, but you talked about the 9 top 5 finishes. That's something that we've been very fortunate to be able to bring really fast Ford F-150s to the track, and like Timothy was stating, all that stuff starts back at the shop. So in order to win now, we just got to keep doing what we're doing, not really change anything we've done up to this point. Everybody says you put yourself in position enough that it'll all work out. So we're just going to keep doing that. Obviously, it's a little more critical here. The guys back at the shop, the engine department, everybody that really massage on our trucks, really going to play that much more of a critical role. But it's good to be here for now my 4th Super Speedway race and know a little bit of the ins and outs, like Timothy was talking about, the do's, the don'ts, who to work with, maybe who to separate yourself from. And like I said, just look forward to learning a little bit more and trying to figure out a way to get our jobs done tomorrow.
And we're also joined by the driver of the number 8 Fire Alarm Services Chevrolet, John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter, you said you're glad to be here at Talladega where anything can happen. What's the key to making your own luck and avoiding other folks' misfortune?
It's tough. Everything here is kind of out of your hands. It all starts back at the shop with the guys of how they prepared your truck for the weekend. But being at Talladega in the spot that we're in with the chase standings being 15 points out, I think it's way better for me to be able to come here to Talladega where anything can happen. If we finish top 5 and someone else got caught up in somebody else's wreck and we didn't, we'd have a shot to make it compared to if you're at a 1.5 mile racetrack or short track. They can ride around all day and kind of salvage a finish to where they make sure that they make it. So Talladega, really looking forward to getting on racetrack today. It's only my 2nd Super Speedway race, so hopefully I can learn, or 3rd Super Speedway race, so hopefully I can learn some more today in practice about drafting throughout the race, and hopefully put ourselves in position tomorrow to get that checkered flag.
Excellent. We'll open it up to questions for our 3 championship contenders. If you raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you, and we'll start right here with Matt Weaver.
Matt Weaver, AutoWeek.com. For John Hunter and Daniel, have you guys, given the situation that you find yourselves in, started to call in any favors or talk to other drivers about trying to link up and get pushed towards the front on Saturday?
I haven't quite called in any favors or anything like that. I think that if we were to be able to qualify up front and run up front all day, as long as we put ourselves in a position to be top 4 at the end where you can make a move coming to the start-finish line, I think you'll be all right. But who knows? Hopefully we'll make some friends today during practice, see how everybody's trucks are, how they draft, and you'll kind of go from there.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing. John Hunter and I both feel like we've done a good job establishing our names in this series to get guys like Timothy and Kraft and everybody to work with us if the opportunity presents itself. But as far as calling in favors, you just got to, like I said, hope you have speed. And if you have speed, it's crazy how much help you get. So if we can have speed, that's a big part of having success here this weekend.
We'll go over here to the right to Lee, and then we'll come back to the middle.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Timothy, the veterans, or being a veteran, has really paid off for Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick on the Cup side. You feel that that's going to be to your benefit as well in trucks?
I think so, for sure. Again, when you when you can come as many times as I've been able to come since being able to be in the Camping World Truck Series, you learn what to do and what not to do. And having the success that I've been able to have the last couple of years, but Red Horse has won this race since 2012, with the exception of 2013. So, I feel like getting friends is going to be pretty easy. It's just it's like everywhere else you go, the last lap is every man's for himself. So we'll just come in here and do our deal today. Tech has been pretty tough across the board, and when we get out on the racetrack, we'll see what our Toyota Tundra has. And hopefully tomorrow we can go for 3 in a row, and then Sunday is Toyota's 1,000th start in NASCAR. So very proud to be a part of the family, and hoping that the experience will pay off.
We're going to go up front here to Bob, then Stan.
Bob Pockers, ESPN. For John and Daniel, I don't want to mess with your heads at all, but I'm curious on this last lap. You've seen drivers push the no push rule at the end. How do you balance how much to push and possibly putting your chase hopes into a NASCAR official's hands?
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a double-edged sword there. But for John Hunter and I, we know that the guys back at the shop, everybody we bring to the racetrack with us all the way up to the point of this season to get to this point, all relies on that last lap. I like to say that from my particular situation that I feel like I'll do everything I can for not only myself and my guys to make sure we advance. So if that means maybe getting a little aggressive when it comes to the pushing that envelope of what's too much, I think it's fair to say that both of us will probably be on that same edge of what's right and what's wrong there. So obviously just hope that we're on the winning side of that deal, and we don't get called the black flag or whatnot for tandem or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, your whole season could be based off this one moment, that one lap. So it's going to be on the fly decision to be able to do what we think is right to not only propel ourselves but our guys to the next round.
Yeah, I'm right there with Daniel. From the spur of the moment, if you're in position to push and be able to go across the finish line first, you're going to do everything that you can, especially in our situation, being 15 points back or whatever. Like he said, this can determine the rest of your season if you move on to the next round, and it could mean that you could be in the Final Four at Homestead. It could mean that you couldn't, but I think that both of us are going to do whatever it takes at the end of the race to make sure that we get that checkered flag.
Go down swinging.
That's all you can do.
Yep.
We'll go to Stan, then over to Chris.
Stan Creekmore with Outside the Box. This is really for all three of you. Given that your schedule is so many different tracks, and Talladega kind of stands out on its own, what's the greatest thing you've learned in racing at this track that really helps you everywhere?
It gives you discipline here. I think the yellow line is your friend across the board in all three of the series when they race here, and it teaches you discipline. Even now, you look out the rearview mirror more than you do the windshield for sure, and your spotter plays a big key that helps you at other tracks that you go to, as far as the communication. If there's any gaps, it helps that. But the biggest thing is discipline. You got to be very alert, and that it seems to help me at other tracks.
Yeah, I agree with Timothy there. He talked about communication. It's something that the discipline and to have that level of communication under really intense situations only helps all the other racetracks we go to. So if you can come to a place like Talladega and keep the heart rate down and keep everybody mindful of the situation you're in, when you go your mile and a half, it makes the weekends a lot easier, I feel like.
I know running my first Superspeedway race, I was mentally worn out last year. Just from all the information I was getting, not ever doing it before, you don't know what to expect going into it. So I think from the mental preparation to the communication side with your spotter, as you run more races, you get more familiar with him. Being able to communicate under intense situations, from making pit stops, what your truck's doing, whatever it may be, can definitely help you everywhere else that you go.
And we'll go over to the right to finish up with Chris Knight.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. I was just curious about your guys' strategy for practice. You go out and practice here for 55-minute sessions, and then tomorrow single truck qualifying. But do you spend practice getting hooked up in the draft, or do you spend practice solo to try to get a good starting spot for the race tomorrow? And then I have follow-up.
I think both. I think that we're all going to go out and draft a little bit, make sure our truck handles good, and then I think that we're going to go and see what our truck has for raw speed, just to see what we can do, what we need to work on to make sure that we get a good qualifying spot. I think qualifying here tomorrow is going to be kind of important for track position, as last year you didn't quite see the too wide racing that we did at Daytona earlier this year. So hopefully we can get both lines working tomorrow if qualifying, if you don't qualify up front.
Yeah, I'd say kind of the same as John Hunter. Qualifying is going to be a pretty big deal, I do believe. But a lot of it does go back to the start of practice. I know first off, we all got to get through tech before we can start practice. And after that is utilizing, who you can work with good, who you can push, who you can pull around the racetrack and make the most speed. Obviously, I feel like every week we see it, the truck series gets tighter and tighter. So John Hunter was talking about the double file racing all around the racetrack, and that's something that I think I expect to see. I don't think anybody's going to cut anybody any breaks, and it's going to be like that the whole race. So you're going to be able to work good, be able to get pushed really good, and not be out of shape by any means. If that's what we'll work on, and just make sure we have good speed in our F-150, and we can do what we need to do come Saturday.
Those guys pretty much said it all. I think you'll see the first practice be the busiest. Get a couple of single runs, mock runs, and then depending on the pack, what trucks are in there, you want to make sure that, you simulate runs today that'll be close tomorrow. 7 or 8 is going to be close. But when you get in the pack of 32, obviously things are going to change a little bit more. So, this deal right here, we're going to be very picky on which pack that we get up in, and then hopefully if Shane likes what he sees, then we probably won't run the second practice. And you'll see that across the board, I'm sure.
And for Daniel, I know you were on Sirius XM NASCAR radio yesterday morning, but even still, the chase in the truck series has been a big buzz. Even this morning on the way in, people were saying that Daniel Hemric has to win tomorrow. Have you listened to what the fans have been talking about and what they've been talking about on the station this week, or you've been trying to tune that out, not only on radio but social media too? Yeah,
I've tried to tune a lot of it out, to be honest with you. I'm pretty in terms of what I need to do. Is it a must-win? I don't think it's a must-win, but it definitely would make life a lot easier. But honestly, I disconnected myself a little bit this week. Actually played 2 rounds of golf. Had a good time doing that and got away from everything else.
My phone didn't ring.
What's that?
My phone didn't ring. I play golf.
Are you any good? Do you play?
Yeah.
Look at that. I got a new golfing buddy, ladies and gentlemen. No, but we just tried to, not hide from our situation. We know what we need to do. So if people feel like we need to win the race, that's fine. I know what our jobs are and what we have to do to advance.
We'll go to Kenny Bruce for a final question.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com for John Hunter and Daniel. With you guys, needing to advance and being in the shape that you're in, will you race tomorrow's race any differently than if you were already guaranteed a spot in the next round?
Almost definitely. If you're guaranteed a spot, you're gonna try and conserve. You don't want to mess up your point standings or whatever it may be. But if you have a win like William, I think that he could go out there and try and do everything that he can to win. And I think that that's kind of what we're gonna have to do. Is we have to go out there and try and control our own destiny of doing everything that we can to try and win the race, and that's pretty much all we can do. Is we can go back to our team and say, hey, I gave it my all, we did our best, and this is where we ended up.
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, all we can do here is control what we can control, go into it, approaching every situation that way, whether it's practice, qualifying, and the race. If we execute on all ends, I see no reason why we shouldn't have a shot at it. But if we had that win, it would definitely change kind of how we'd probably approach all 3 of those segments I just mentioned. So, but at the end of the day, kind of like John Hunter got to earlier, I think I'd rather be on the end we're on. Obviously, if you're won, that's even better. But the situation where we can go down swinging and not play in defense all day, I think it's going to be a good thing for him and I both.
Gentlemen, good luck. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.
Okay, everybody, thanks for coming to our race weekend. Extremely excited about everything we got going on this upcoming weekend, but we got a lot of other things to talk about. And to get things started here, I got Patrick Judge with GEICO, Casey Mears, driver of the GEICO Chevrolet number 13, and Grant Lynch, who is the chairman here of Talladega Superspeedway. And Grant, I'll go and turn it to you. We also got the GEICO Gecko with us as well. Grant, I'll turn it over to you to tell about a great announcement.
Yeah, I guess it was 4 years ago. We started partnering with our friends from GEICO, and the first race they did here, I can't describe all the things they did right out of the box that were just so unique. The sky typing. I'm at the Auburn game. Here comes a Talladega banner by the Auburn game talking about your race at Talladega. And out of the box, we just knew that these were great people. We worked with them to actually move them from the fall to the spring, and that's been a great fit for them as well. And so they have decided to re-up with us for another 3 years, and we really appreciate that. They're the kind of sponsors that any of the racetrack guys in here would love to have at their racetrack, and we're just so happy to re-up with them. But they didn't quit there. They're now going to sponsor the GEICO Restart Zone, and you'll see it on our racetrack here. This is the first place it's been. And they'll be at all of the ISC facilities minus California for the Restart Zone. So that's another commitment where they're giving back to the sport, and this shows you the kind of folks they are and the kind of sponsor that we love having here at Talladega. So thank you, Patrick. Thank your company. Y'all have been nothing but class to deal with, and I hope you'll stay many, many more years.
Absolutely. Thank you, Grant. We've really enjoyed the relationship here with Talladega and ISC the last couple of years. It's really blossomed into a great relationship. The first year we were here, like he said, we really hit the ground running, really have done a full activation all around, and we're really looking forward to the Restart Zone going forward. It's it's just a true testament of the partnership we've had with ISC and Talladega. That's one thing that we've really emphasized in-house at our office. And from the top down, we couldn't be happier to be here and be a part of it, and we're looking forward to another great 3 years.
You can also look at the screens, the television screens here, and you can sort of see a rendition of the GEICO Restart Zone. Again, we've already got it painted, ready to go for this weekend as well. Casey, talk about just racing here at Talladega. I know you've been with GEICO for a long period of time, but racing here at Talladega, you've always been pretty good here.
No, it's always been, GEICO Chevrolet has always been quick when we come here to Talladega. I feel like we've, not that you can really have a strategy here at this place, but we seem to, work our way to the front when it comes to Talladega and run the Superspeedways. And I think them, GEICO sponsoring the Restart Zone is a great idea. Obviously GEICO's done a really good job with continuing to grow in the NASCAR community, and to see them get more involved is always exciting. And the Restart Zone's a great way to do it. I mean, it's been getting a lot of attention lately with NASCAR opening up the Restart Zones, giving the drivers a little bit more leeway, which I think is a good thing, because back in the old days, old days, when you restarted a race, you could restart it in the center of 3 and 4. There was really a lot of control from the leader to start the race when he wanted to, and I think getting a little bit more leeway with that's been good, and you see it determining a lot of the results of these races, whether or not the leader or the guy that's in second place gets a better restart. Obviously with a late race caution can really determine the results of these races. So exciting to be here with these guys. It's exciting to see GEICO continually get involved with our sport and support it. And it's a fun relationship, and look forward to being a part of the race here on Sunday.
You can see it on the screen, Casey. I know probably, have you had trouble sometimes knowing exactly where the Restart Zone is at some tracks? If you see this one, you can't miss it, huh?
Yeah, this one you won't miss for sure. I've had a pretty good idea where it's been over the last few years, but definitely bringing a lot more attention to it this weekend. So, like I said, it's exciting. The number one thing is just to see the GEICO's commitment. They continue to support what we love, the sport of NASCAR, and it's neat to see them get more involved.
One thing to take note of is that we are the only GEICO Restart Zone for 2016. The rest of the tracks will be implemented next year in 2017. The GEICO Gecko, you have any comments? I don't think he does. How about some questions out there? Stan.
Stan Creekmore with Outside the Box. I'm sorry, I have the same problem you have. Mr. Gecko, how important have you been personally to making Casey Mears a better driver?
Well, what I usually do is give him a little bit of insight just before the start of the race, and then...
No, just that was my best impression. He's probably a little mad about his voiceover right now.
That's good stuff. Mr.
It
Pockris. Bob Pockris up front here.
I have two questions. First for Grant. There seemed to be a little bit of battle back and forth between tracks and NASCAR for who's going to be able to sell the restart zone. How important was it to you guys to have that as one of your assets?
Well, it's a nice asset to have. It is located on our racetrack. It makes sense that we would be able to monetize that since it's the Talladega Superspeedway restart zone. And when you can throw all the rest of the tracks in together, all of a sudden the sponsor is getting a whole lot more than just one racetrack. So it made good sense to tie us all in, and they stepped right up to the plate for everybody except California. And so I think it's a great fit for both of us again.
And for Patrick, can you say, does this increase your total racing spend as far as what you do with tracks for next year? Or I know you do a lot of campsite sponsorships. Are you moving that to the restart zone? Or
It has increased the spend just a little bit. We are continuing our campground sponsorship as well going forward. So this is it's just all tied together in one big package as well.
Questions? Kenny?
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. First for Grant, looking ahead to next year, this year you guys are an elimination race. Next year you won't be, I believe. I would think you guys obviously would want to be an elimination race to get the buzz and everything that's going on. How will you guys try to sell that next year with it being changed like that?
Well, I think we would prefer to stay where we are. But as my daughter Ashley tells me, it doesn't matter where you are in the chase, you're going to be the knockout race. So I think if you ask the drivers, and we've got one here, and he mentioned it at the start, it's one of the places where they come to race that you're not sure exactly what's going to happen. And I understand that you're probably not going to find many drivers that are going to pick Talladega as their favorite racetrack. But I know this. When they do what they can do at Talladega Superspeedway, it cannot be duplicated at any other racetrack in any other series. And when you watch it live or on TV, especially live, it'll take your breath away. The bravery of what they do out there. And so my hat's off to them for what they do when they come to Talladega.
Casey, you got a follow-up with that?
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of undeniable that Talladega is always exciting, for either reason. Either there's amazing incidents and crazy stuff going on, or there's always very, very, very close finishes. I don't think we ever leave Talladega disappointed with the result or the way that you see these cars come across the start-finish line. So it's an exciting event. Like you said, from a driver's standpoint, it can be really exciting or really dismal. But I think that's kind of the drama that is Talladega. And at the end of the day, we hope to be on the good side of it.
Follow-up by Kenny.
Yeah, and for Casey, your name's obviously popped up a lot here recently and next year and how things are shaking out. Can you kind of address that? Tell us what your plans are for next season.
Not at the moment. Right now we're just focused on what we've talked about at the beginning of this season, and focused on the remainder of this year first and foremost. And as I know more, we can talk about it. But right now, just focused on getting through this weekend. Yep.
Questions? Went over here, I can't see, over here on the far right.
LeeSpencerMotorsport.com. For Patrick, can you talk about what your relationship's going to be on the team side next year? Do you all intend to stay with Germain Racing, and if so, for how many races?
Sure. As of right now, we're contracted through 2018, so that's where we stand right now, and we plan to be a part of Germain Racing for that period of time.
Questions? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to take some photographs now over here by the sign, by the GEICO 500 extension sign. And for those of you who'd like to go out and take some photographs of the guys out.
If I can have your attention, we'll go ahead and continue our driver media availabilities advance of Sunday's Hellman's 500. We're joined now by the driver of the number 24 NAPA Auto Parts Chevrolet, Chase Elliott. Chase, welcome. You know better than anyone else what's on the line in Sunday's race. Talk a little bit about your team's approach going into this weekend.
Yeah, I think for us, we're obviously disappointed the way the past 2 weeks have gone, having such strong cars over the past 2 weeks and having the ability to go and can 10 with some of those guys. Obviously, to end like it was disappointing, but for us, it puts us in a pretty simplistic situation for this weekend, and having to have a really, really good run, if not have to win. So it's like I said, it's a simple position that we're in, and we're up for the challenge and looking forward to Sunday.
We'll open it up for questions for Chase. We'll start right here with Tom, and then we'll go to Jordan.
Hi, Chase. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Are you more discouraged by your bad luck the last couple weeks, or more encouraged by the fact that your cars have been fast from the start of the chase all the way through?
To be honest, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, disappointed by the outcome the past couple weekends. I think anybody would be and should be. But the biggest piece of it, and I think, is the encouragement of how we've been running. I've been impressed with how our teams come together, how we've stepped up our game as an organization when it came time to start the chase. I think that says a lot about our group and our team for not quitting and getting to where we need to be and keep fighting for that right direction. So to be honest with you, yes, I'm disappointed. Yes, it's a bummer. I hate it. You hate to have things go like they have, but I think I'm more encouraged by the way we've been running, and that at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, because I would personally rather have to deal with certain situations or go through some hard times running well, when you've been running well, than to be running decent and just get lucky and squeak your way through. I'd rather fight through whatever kind of issues you got to have if you're running well to make it through.
Excellent. We'll go to Jordan, and then we'll go over here to Matt.
Jordan Bianchi, SBNation.com. Hey, Chase. When Jimmy won after Charlotte, he kind of talked about how coming into Talladega, he's got nothing to race for, essentially. He's in the next round. And then he's going to basically try to help you out and act as your wingman. Have you guys had those discussions of how the 24 and the 48 team are going to work together on Sunday? And as a driver, obviously there's only so much you can do, but what does it all entail?
Oh, I think, the biggest thing we look at is it's great to have teammates, especially when you come to the plate tracks. And we've seen groups or teams work together in the past to try to help a guy have a good run, or help an organization to have a good run as a whole. We've had some small conversations, but we're going to go into more detail. I feel like later on this weekend, probably sit down and try to get a better idea how we want to proceed forward. But I think the biggest thing, to answer your question, is just to not hurt one another. At the end of the day, you can be in situations, and it can be hard to help somebody, so to speak, but there's some times where you can hurt them a lot easier. So I think just trying to avoid the hurt side of that, and just be as helpful as you can be without getting yourself in trouble.
Let's go back here to Matt, and then we'll come back up to Dustin.
Matt Weaver, AutoWeek.com. Jordan had my question, but I would ask you something else too. Should you be able to pull this win out and you're able to advance in this next round of the chase, you've been really good. You've had the bad luck, but do you feel like, if you can just get past Talladega, you've got a chance to go out there, get that next win, build momentum for next year, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% think if we can advance through this weekend, I without a doubt feel like we can be a contender. I mean, I think if you don't feel that way, you need to go home. So I definitely feel that way. I think we've been running well enough the past couple weeks to be a contender. Obviously we haven't had the finishes to show it, but I feel like the way we've been clicking, the pit road, practice, the race, I feel like all that stuff has been going in the right direction. So I definitely think that we can, we could be one of those guys if we can make it through this weekend. So, and a lot of it, you got to have things go your way for sure. We've seen this over the past couple of years with this format, and me sitting at home watching as a fan, you gotta be good, but you gotta have some things go your way sometimes, and you also just have to make it happen some days. So that's just kind of how this deal works.
We'll come up front to Dustin, then Bob, and Claire.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chase, you were one of the few cars that technically was listed as not being involved in an incident here in May with all the incidents. I guess one is how did you avoid that? And two, in some of those instances in May, it looked like it was from cars pushing and shoving each other. What is that like? How hard is that? How much did you almost lose control at times with cars hitting or you hitting cars? Because that seemed to be a key factor in some of those instances.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I wish I knew how we made it through the first race without having any issues. And we had a really strong car sat on the pole here, which was great. We had a fast. We've had really fast speedway cars throughout the year, as you know the 24 team has over the past couple years. So, that being said, I'd like to say we had a certain strategy to make it through that race. We just really didn't, and there were times where we tried to be up front. There were times we got shuffled out. We ended up in the back, and we were just really lucky to get around the wrecks as we did. So, but it's definitely difficult. I feel like a lot of the mayhem that went on in that first race, and I'm sure I'll be proven wrong this weekend, but I think a lot of it was we were fighting that weather that weekend, and that rain was coming in, and I think we were all pretty antsy because we felt like that rain could be there here any time. We were past halfway. I think all that, to me, the entire race looked like the last 20 laps of a typical weekend. It was that way about the whole day, and I feel like the intensity was high throughout the entirety of the race as we ran. So I feel like a lot of it had to do with that. To me, it didn't have the same feel as a Daytona 500 did or the 4th of July Daytona race did. So I think some of it was that. I could be proven wrong. This is obviously a big race for a lot of guys, and lots on the line for a lot of us. But I think at the same time, I think that weather had a big factor. But I don't really know a good way to make it through. You can't go anywhere in a hurry in these cars and in these packs these days. So I think a lot of it is important, to try to methodically put yourself in the right positions at the right times throughout the race and make your moves when you can, because it gets to a point and it's hard to move forward in a hurry, and that can become an issue.
Let's go up front to Bob, then we'll go to Claire Reed, and we'll finish up in the back.
Chase, do you feel like the way you ran here back in May and having won the Xfinity race at Daytona in February gives other drivers confidence to work with you on Sunday?
I hope. I feel like, the biggest thing, you want to be reliable, I feel like, in that standpoint. But guys know when a guy has a fast car at these places, and if you can be, as I say, if you can be that guy when you're in the draft, if you can be that guy that can make a lane go forward or be a good pusher or have the ability to push a lane when a lane is having a hard time moving forward, I feel like guys notice that more than anything. So I think a lot of it is kind of how your car is driving, how fast it is, and what its ability to do in the draft is. And people take note of that. They see it very quickly, and you'll see it in practice. I think a lot of it, if you're running along in practice and you're a guy that can push a lane forward, I think people recognize that, and that's going to make them want to work with you more. But you also want to try to do your job and try to be reliable and not do anything too stupid.
We'll go up front here to Claire Lang.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I talked to your spotter, Eddie DeHunt, on air last night, and he told me that what he likes about you is that when you're in the car and you're communicating with him, it's all about the racing. There's never any drama. It's never about the driver in the car with the drama, and therefore he can focus more on the racing. Is that something, and that's especially important at Talladega, that comes to you naturally, or is that something that you work at?
I don't know. I just try not to pay attention to the stuff that doesn't matter, and sometimes complaining about certain things just doesn't get you anywhere. So, my dad spotted for me a lot when I was short track racing, and I think some of that kind of comes from my time talking to the radio with him and kind of his personality and how our personalities are, where there's no need to talk about some stuff while you're racing. We're here to race, and we're here to focus on the things that are important. And as you run along throughout a weekend, obviously you want to keep it light when there's times to have it that way, but definitely keeping your eye on what matters and just not worrying so much about stuff that doesn't, I feel like, is the biggest thing.
We'll go over here to Reed Spencer.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Did you guys diagnose the problem from last week, figure out what caused the tire rub, and was your issue the same as Casey's?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we've kind of come to the conclusion that it was just a freak incident. The best we can figure out. We haven't been doing anything different over the past number of weeks that would cause it. So, we did identify that it happened when I was getting up on the racetrack off the exit of turn 2. That's a pretty abrupt banking change, and we're hitting it pretty hard, under green flag conditions. So, you hit it hard throughout the weekend, and it was weird that you don't have that stuff happen, but as those fenders heat up and get warm, throughout a day, they can flex and bend easier. So I hit the banking with the left or the right side obviously first, and the left rear when it compressed, and just folded the fender up under the tire, and then once the car traveled down in the corner, it obviously cut it. So the best we can figure out was our incident to Casey's was the same thing, but we hadn't done anything different over the past number of weeks. So it was just a unfortunate situation for us.
We're going to come over here to your left to Tom.
Tom Menino, WVTM 13 in Birmingham. With the unpredictability of this track, were you in favor of the swapping of the order in the chase, moving Talladega around?
I don't know. I mean, the way this deal is, and with any type of point situation, you kind of control your own destiny in a lot of ways. And, if you're in a position where you're counting on that last race to get yourself through, well, we didn't do something right in the first two is the way I see it. So, you have the opportunity to advance before you get here. And even if this race is changed around to where this isn't the last race, you have an opportunity to advance before it or after it. So, I don't know. It's the same for everybody. And I just have a hard time complaining about that when I've had two opportunities to make my way through. And as a team, we've had two chances to do that. So, we've had the same opportunity the other 12 guys or however many are left to make it, and we're in a position where we haven't. So we got to bite the bullet and deal with our circumstances as they come.
We'll finish up over here on the right.
Chase, there's a term called, I guess, racing luck. It's kind of a catch-all for things that are out of a driver's control. As you've gone through your first season here, how much have you found that to be a factor in the season, and especially at a place like this?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's, there's obviously some things you can't control. There's a lot of things you can control. I've learned over the years racing. I mean, I think a lot of your preparation, a lot of the things that the performance that you have at the racetrack, to me, starts long before you ever get here. And I think that's the most important side of it, is just trying to control the things that you can control. And the stuff that's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. And to worry or let that bother you to a point where you can't stand it, that there's just no need in that. So, I mean, you got to have things go your way, certainly, but I think there's a lot of stuff that you can control before you get here. And, we've had some unfortunate circumstances over the past couple weeks, some of it kind of self-inflicted. So you got to look at that and recognize, hey, how can we fix it? How can we avoid that moving forward? And how can we continue to get better and progress as a race team? So all I gotta say, I'd rather be lucky than good. I'd rather be good any day than lucky. And I think if you're good, you can try to work your way through some things and deal with it as they come. But to me, the biggest piece of it is just trying to maintain and control the things that you can before you show up on every weekend, and obviously throughout the race as well. But it's just part of it some days.
Chase, good luck this weekend. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys.
Continue our driver media availabilities in advance of Sunday's Hellman's 500 here at Talladega Superspeedway. We're joined now by the driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford, Joey Logano. Joey, welcome. Obviously, the stakes this weekend really couldn't be higher for a lot of folks. How much of a confidence lift do you get coming here as a defending race winner?
I think that definitely helps, knowing you can win here, right? We've had a good, solid speedway program at Team Penske the last couple of years, and when you come to Talladega, you get excited about it. It's not quite like that for everybody, but for us, we get excited about speedway racing and and the opportunity that presents itself this weekend. So, ready to get on the racetrack, see what we got.
Excellent. We'll open it up to questions for Joey. We'll start in the back here with Jerry, then we'll go to Jordan and work our way up.
Jerry Jordan, Performance Racing Network and Kicking the Tires. You're tied for the cutoff spot. Technically, you're ahead, but you know that there's going to be a concerted effort by some to beat you and to knock you out. What kind of pressure is that for you, and how do you and Brad work together to make sure that you move on?
I don't really think about how people were trying to knock me out. I think about how I'm going to knock other people out. Right? That's my attitude. If I'm on defense, we're not going to win. We better stay on offense. That's what this 22 team does. We're going to go out there and race hard. And that's what we know how to do when we come to speedways. Some other guys can do it good the other way, but for us, we're gonna go out there, race hard, try to stay up front. Try to keep making our car better for the end of the race and be there at the end.
We'll go now to Jordan.
Joey Jordan Bianchi, SBNation.com. You know, going back to 2004 when Brad won here, you had a win coming into this race, and you did a lot to help Brad win that day. Was there a concentrated effort on your part to help him out? And you know, before the race, did you guys talk what you guys were going to do? And can you take me through that?
Yeah, that day there was. Brad was in a do-or-die situation. I had a lock. And so our main goal was to get Brad through. That was our goal. You know, that was there was a lot of talk about how we help each other and how we can put him in a position to make the moves at the end of the race. And I gave him my commitment that I was going to be there for him. I was going to push him along. I was going to do everything that I knew how to do to help him win. That situation will happen throughout a lot of other teams this week. But it's something that Brad and I need to have an understanding that, hey, yeah, we're going to help each other as much as we can, but we both kind of got to win. So, you know, it's a little bit different than that race. But at the same time, you know, we're good teammates. We're going to race each other and we're going to help each other like we do every single week.
We'll come up front here to Tom, then Bob, then Jeff, and work our way back.
Joey, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. What's the strength of your restrictor plate program? Brad's won, got a higher winning percentage than any driver in history on restrictor plate tracks, and you've done very well here. Why are you guys good?
Well, I think there's a lot of different reasons for it. You know, having fast race cars has become key, I think, in these speedway races. I think we've had some fast cars lately. I think that helps. I think having a good understanding of the draft is something that's been a big deal. We were able to win a couple speedway races last year, so I feel confident that we still know how to do this. But you know, I think having that relationship with your spotter and understanding what happens in the draft and why you're going to do things, and understanding what information you need to hear and what is useless information. So, and clarifying that as much as you can before the race, during the race, even after the race, to help you through the next one. So, I think, you know, speedway racing isn't as much of a crapshoot as I think a lot of people like to believe it is. Sounds like it's just an excuse to me. I think there's a lot of strategy and a lot of knowledge that has to go into playing this game.
We'll go to Bob, then Jeff, then Holly.
Do you know if either of you or Brad have the 2017 new Footbox car with you for this weekend? And what did your position in the chase determine whether you went with 2017 or 2016?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that honestly. I can honestly say we're not going to change our car lineup depending on what spot we were in for this race. But honestly, I don't know. I focus on things that I can affect and things that involve me, and I'm sure, yes, you can make an argument that involves me quite a bit, but it doesn't really affect on me and the way I'm going to approach this race and race. So I didn't really get in the middle of that.
We'll go to Jeff, then Holly, then Dustin.
Joey, I'm back here behind the cameras, but I'm wondering about strategy-wise. There's a bunch of cars on Sunday who already have pretty decent points leads, and I know that, like, Kyle Busch has gotten in trouble before when he tried to run at the back, and then he got run into and he ended up missing the chase. But for most of them, why not run in the back if they have points cushions? I mean, why would you get yourself in the mix there?
Oh, I think it depends on what your situation is. Everyone's situation is different, right? The bigger points cushion you have, you can argue that you can afford to go up there at a race, or you can argue that why would I go up there and race? But last I kind of checked, this thing's called a race, and I believe racers race, in my opinion. But everyone has their own way of doing it. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen people ride around in the back and crash. I've seen guys running up front and crash. It happens. But I think being aware of your surroundings becomes very important throughout the race. And is there a safe place? I don't know if there really is a safe place, especially towards the end of these things. It becomes, chaotic that being in the middle is definitely not the safe place. So you got to be one or the other. And maybe if you had a decent enough cushion that maybe you would, play it safe. But, I can't make decisions for what other drivers are going to do throughout this weekend.
Let's go to Holly, and then we'll come up front to Dustin.
Thanks. Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. In the middle, in the back.
Hey, there you are.
I just wondered if you could share with us, how much different it does feel this year versus last year when you came in with all of the wins. I mean, what is, your demeanor? What is how does that feel different for you this year with so much more on the line and it obviously being such a different circumstance, I guess?
Honestly, not much different, which is a good thing. I feel like our team's in a good spot. We had a great run last weekend in Kansas. We did make up some points. We're in a great spot with having a really bad Charlotte. So our team has a lot of confidence in themselves. We know we can do this. We're coming into a racetrack, like I said, that we know we're good at. We know we can win here. Is the situation different? Obviously it is. Last year we had, we were locked in. There was nothing to worry about. This year is obviously we're not, and but we still have the same goal. So why should we approach the race any different?
We'll go to Dustin, then we're going to go to Steve across there.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Joey, as you noted, a number of accidents can happen at the start of the field, and we've seen that in the past. So in one sense, as you say, there isn't a safe place. So how do you find a safe place during a race? And sometimes I guess that could be 25th or 12th, depending who you're around. And two, as the race progresses, how much do you cross that line because how much do you get out of that comfort zone, and how uncomfortable, I don't know if that's the right word, does it get?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you said it in there, depending on who you're around. A lot of times, know who you're racing. know who you feel comfortable with. And when you're around other cars, it maybe not be who you're driving against. It might be just the way their car handles, and might say, oh, I don't want to be around him. His car looks loose, or he looks out of control for some reason. And kind of understanding that scenario and what position you're in. And there's times in the race that you can back out of it and say, okay, let's wait for this to calm down a little bit, and then we'll try to work our way back up. But the whole race, you weigh out in your mind risk versus reward, right? And that's just what you think about is, am I willing to take this risk? And if I do, what do I gain? And you think about that when you're trying to make a move and say, am I going to make this move to take the lead? And am I going to go back to 20th if it doesn't work? All right, I'm going to weigh that out. Is it, making a move that's going to put you in a really tight spot and you can possibly crash to gain 3 or 4 spots? You got to weigh that out. Does that make sense? A lot of that changes throughout the race. When it's early in the race, a lot more people are conservative and say, it's probably not worth it at this point in the race. But at the end of the race, everyone's trying to get every spot they can. And depending on your point situation, you're going to have to make decisions knowing once you collect all that data from inside the car and kind of understand the situation, you'll make those decisions off of that.
We'll go to the right to Steve.
Yeah, hi, Steve Hummer with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Just curious about racing in a place like this. How much, if you put a percentages or proportion on it, how much of it is skill, preparation, and how much of it is just good fortune or bad fortune?
I think it's all skill and preparation, 100%.
100%.
In my opinion.
There's no such thing as racing luck in your mind?
You create your own luck. That's what I think. You know what I mean? There might be a chance that you run over something or something happens, but some things are just meant to be. Some things aren't. But if you can work and do everything you can do and prepare yourself to go out there and be the best, then that's all you can do. And I feel like that's kind of, that makes it, in my opinion, a lot about preparation.
We'll stay on the right, and then we'll come over here to Tom.
Jonathan Merriman, NASCAR.com. Joey, races here at Talladega tend to take on their own personalities. In the spring, we had something 35, 36 cars end up with accident damage at the end of the race. If you look at the points now, can you kind of predict what personality a race can have in terms of people's desperation, and what do you think this race will be like Sunday?
Yeah, I think the fall Talladega race, a lot of times, because there's a lot of different situations going on the racetrack, usually is a little bit calmer than the spring race. I think a lot of times just because some guys, like we talked earlier, some guys may just ride around and say, okay, just don't crash today and I make it through, and other guys may say have to win, but they got to be there at the end to win. So I think the race, there's a lot to lose for a lot of people, and they may not make as crazy as things going on, and there might be some non-chasers that don't want to get in the middle of it, and saying, I don't want to be the one that takes this guy out, I think this race seems to be usually a little bit calmer till the end. At the end of the race, that's when people get desperate, and when that happens, people make aggressive moves to make it happen. You got to expect that. So I would personally expect, and it'll probably be a crash lap 10 after I say this, but I think it's going to go green for a while, and everyone's kind of settle in, and then at the end, I would assume we're getting crazy, and there'd probably be a lot of crashes then.
Joe, we'll go over here to your left to Tom.
Tom Menino, WVTM 13. This is the last year before the schedule change where Talladega moves in the chase and moves back. With the unpredictability of the track, are you in favor of that move to move up the schedule, shake it up?
To move up the schedule, I don't understand your question.
Talladega's going from not the last race in the round.
To the second. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I kind of like knowing kind of what you have to do after Talladega, as much as you say you can control your own destiny here, which you can, but you can't as much as you could at Kansas, right? Maybe not as much. So, a lot of times it'd be kind of nice to know, hey, you're in a must-win situation and you can do a strategy play at a racetrack at like a Kansas or a Charlotte or whatever it may be. A lot of times it's a little bit, I don't want to say easier to call the race, but knowing what that situation is here, your strategy is kind of stuck here of what the rest of the pack does. But when you go to other racetracks like that and you're do or die, you may make some different calls that may have a better reward.
We're going to go back here to the middle, and then we'll finish up with Matt Weaver. Right back. There you go.
Caleb Whistler, Speedway Digest. So blocking has become a prevalent part of Superspeedway racing this year. How prevalent do you think it will be with this being an elimination race in the chase?
Blocking? Yeah, I thought you said blogging, and I was like, we're blogging. Blocking, yes, is always going to be a big player in Speedway racing. What goes on behind you dictates what you're going to do and what happens in front of you a lot of times. So I'd say there's more time that you look in your mirror than you look of what's going on in front of you, because these decisions are made on what's going on behind you. Maybe not necessarily as much blocking, it's just kind of understanding where the runs are coming from and getting into those lines. And it's going to happen all day. You'll see the leader going back and forth from lane to lane, trying to block them from getting on the outside of them or inside of them. And you'll see it going throughout the pack of guys just trying to keep themselves in line, because a lot of times if you kind of get off your game for a minute, you'll get, I call it snookered, but you get, someone will pop out and put you, 3 wide in the middle or 3 wide on the bottom where there's no one behind you, and you'll lose all those spots. So if you don't stay in line and stay up in your mirror and be up on your game to make those blocks, you lose a lot of spots really, really quick.
Joey, thank you for joining us. Good luck this weekend.
All right, thanks, guys.